Computer Talk. It's John and John night, I guess. So we're going to do a little domestic versus import stuff. So you have gone back to the dark side.
I have seen the light.
We both own import cars and domestic cars, so but we're kind of on different sides of the fence. So to start off, part of it is when the import scene, I'm talking pre-Fast and Furious, when the import scene started, the biggest negative you could say about import cars in America was parts. You have to overnight parts from Japan, or you'd have to, if you wanted anything special. Now you can pretty much get anything you want. I mean, through a modicum of sources. I mean, you can get stuff in a couple of days. And I'm not talking about just performance parts, but maintenance stuff. Like the import stuff doesn't really break as much, depending on what it is. I mean, I don't want to be general and say imports, because then we have to talk about cars that aren't, the big Japanese cars.
Yeah.
And if Jared was here, he'd be like, oh, Kias and Hyundais are getting better. They are, but when you're that far ahead, with the Hondas and the Toyotas and stuff like that, you're that far ahead. You're still playing catch up. Mm-hmm. But maintenance costs, longevity. I mean, do you in the same era? Like, so if you're talking about 90s, 2000s, typical import cars, 240s and stuff like that, those parts are getting hard to get because drifting has pretty much murdered the S chassis.
Destroyed it.
I mean, you can't find them. You can't find the parts, and then you get what we call the drift packs and cars that are incredibly overpriced because you can't find the parts anymore.
And then don't forget what didn't rust away already.
Right. And that was a problem with a lot of the stuff back in the day. I mean, you still have guys looking for classic domestic cars in the middle of the desert because they didn't rust.
Yep.
Cars rust. If they're made of metal, they're going to rust unless you have some weird, like,
fiberglass.
Well, yeah, but that's just the body. The frame's still going to rust. They don't. I wouldn't be surprised if Chevrolet made a fiberglass frame, but that being said, but I mean, the classic car market has always been the way it is. I mean, the values are up. I mean, obviously, everything old, because people make more money now, and they dream about the car that their dad had, and it's like. And not many people go, oh man, my dad had this Corolla that was this 4-door Corolla, and I got to have the car my dad had. My dad had a 65 Vet, I get it, or stuff like that. But you see a lot of stuff where cars are becoming a situation where the import stuff is just, a lot of it's been put drifting and racing, and it's gone. Those cars are gone. I mean, the rarer stuff like the Skylines and Supras and the God cars, their prices are almost untouchable anymore. I never thought you'd see Supras selling for what they sold for new, or more. Mark IVs but they were like new at $50,000. People were like, oh God, I'm not spending $50,000 on a Toyota, and now they're getting there now. They're getting there back to that point. I guess it's like so a lot of the import stuff is either like, okay, it's a show car or it's a drift car, but you don't see a lot of import cars that are. There are some autocross cars that guys with Miatas, for example, and stuff like that. Yeah. They're actually racing them like
we're sitting on their stands in their yards forever.
Yeah. But do you think? What about like domestic cars? Do you think there's going to be a time when like the C5 Vet is like that, where you're not going to be able to find the part? I mean, they built so many of them though.
I mean, we have the advantage of we're here where they're made.
Right.
If you go to Japan, apparently you can find Skyline parts, whatever, over there. So, I think there's an advantage there. I mean, vets have always been, even if you don't like them, they've always been kind of a sought-after car by most people. Like, most people look at a vet and go, oh, it's a Corvette. Like, they held it to a standard.
Right.
Corolla, most of the time you think, oh, it was...
But you had a time with the Corvette in the 80s, and I'm going to just shoot that, maybe the late 70s, early 80s, where it became the midlife crisis car.
Yeah.
It was like, I have kids, and but what's funny is, in that era, you still had, and that's when it kind of went south for the Corvette, because so many Corvettes even today are automatic. So and they were automatic before automatics were good automatics. They were automatics when it was 3 speeds, and horrible TH transmissions, and you had a sports car with a horrible, you know, I mean, they were just garbage.
Yeah.
And they were building those cars at the same time that Ford was building the Fox chassis Mustang, which to this, you can't even find those cars now. Like, you find a Fox chassis in decent shape, you go on Craigslist and you look around and they're convertibles and they're auto, and it's because everybody has bought up all the coupes and the hatches and turned them into drag cars because you can run tens on them easily.
Minimal stuff, yeah.
But the Corvette was like, you know, Corvette is a step above. I mean, you with pony cars like Camaros and the mullet era of cars, you know, like the IROC and the Pontiacs. But they're even like, they didn't make really that many special models. I know I'm going to get beat up about this, but it's like you made the 1LE cars, and like the people. One of my friends has a ZL1 1LE, the new one, and he didn't even know they made the old one. That in the IROC generation they made a 1LE.
Yeah.
But the Mustang, the Firebird they made a Grand National powered one. That was a pace car edition for a while. They're worth money. You got cars that that era of like the Cyclone and the Typhoon, and when GM was kind of trying things.
Yeah.
Now it's just they build so many Corvettes, and they're all autos, and they're basically like a ton of rental cars. You know.
Yeah.
And cars are becoming more drivable for the amateur. You know, the R35 is anyone can drive that car fast. I think.
Autopilot, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it's like the cost of, you know, when you're talking about performance, you know, the argument is there's no substitute for displacement. You know, and I argue that it's called boost.
I agree with that.
And what's ironic is now you see a lot of cars, including Corvettes, that are boosting cars with displacement.
Yep.
To get more and more and more. So they're building engines and then they're boosting them. But it depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, in my opinion, with the Corvette, I think the C5 was the first step in the right direction.
Oh, 100%.
The C5 was like a car, and it was pretty reliable, and they were fun, they were fast. It was, and they've gotten better. The new one, I sat in recently. I just feel like it's fallen prey to the Viper thing, where you sit too far down in it, and the car's like around you. You know, and you kind of look up over the steering wheel. And
yeah, that's kind of the thing they're doing. I mean, the Camaro, like I've sat in one of those, and I'm just like, man, they're just looking out like a little.
Well, it's the safety box stuff. It's the fact that they want to make the windows as small as they can, so that the airbags can cover them when they have to deploy, and you don't get thrown out of the car. And it's all safety, 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 because safety sells.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Camaro. I mean, I'm not even going to get into the Camaro end of it, but it's like the Mustang. A lot of people hate the brand new one. I don't really have a huge issue with it.
I love it. Are you referring
like
to
the brand new one?
The 19 or the 1819 where they kind of changed.
They give that little streaks in the front.
I like them. They came out with like their colors are coming out with now. Velocity Blue. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. The build quality though it's light years of what they used to be. I had a 03 Mach 1. It was a great car. But now if I sit in an 03 Mach 1, it's kind of like, or any 03.
Yeah, well, I mean, things have become easier and more automated. I mean, it's like if you go 20 years prior, you know, I mean, everybody's talking about all this airbag and safety tech. You know, I was driving cars growing up that had steel dashboards and a lap belt. That was your safety, if it had a lap belt.
If they had it.
You know, I mean, but, I mean, performance is like, you can build it. And there's some crazy builds out there. I mean, there's twin-turbo V8s and the LS, everything. The LS is in everything. I mean, but it's kind of like try something new. You know, my thing is you know I always tease you. It's like, oh, it's a lawn tractor. It's not a lawn tractor, but there's a reason to say, oh, the LS is a dependable engine. It is, but it took long enough.
That's true.
You know, I mean, you had technology with like I don't know if you remember OptiSpark.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Where if your water pump leaked, it went in your timing system and it would kill your car.
That was my number one fear.
Or
my 92
rain
Corvette
would get in there and stuff and mess it up.
Go through a puddle. Yeah, I was my 92 Corvette. I was so petrified.
But I like, you know, I mean, the thing with the Corvettes and not necessarily with the Camaros and all that. I mean, it does. But you see, domestics are mostly own the quarter mile end. Like drag racing is a domestic thing. You do see a lot of imports now on drag racing and stuff, but it's always kind of been a rear-wheel drive kind of, and you know, just I'm being general. I'm not saying that there's no fast Civics. Of course there are. And there's 8-second Evos and on and on. But you know,
That's where the muscle car era. That's what they did.
That's what it is. And
Yeah.
guys go out and blow off some steam on a Friday night or Saturday night and race their friends and in a safe environment. You know, I'm not talking about street racing. I'm talking about going to a track.
Well, I mean, that was a lot of back then. They did street racing, and you know.
You know what I always found funny? We were watching a video earlier, but what I found funny is you always see these videos of Mustangs. You know, everybody makes fun of Mustangs crashing into the crowds. You know,
Yeah.
watch out, Mustangs coming. But it's funny because I've seen so many street racing videos, like in backwoods of Philly and New York, and they're on like little roads. No one ever crashes into anything with a Mustang there. Like,
No.
what is it pulling out of a car meet when you're not trying to be, you're not trying to win a race?
I think what it is like because cars become so powerful, and
They get away from it.
yeah, that people have gotten used to these nanny controls that will
Sure.
save you, and then one flip, you turn it off, and then
panic. Panic sets in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you watch some of this stuff and it's like, okay, they just spun the car and they're sliding. Why are the wheels still turning? Why aren't these guys standing up on the brake pedal?
Yep.
You know, why isn't the car stopped? Why are they still rolling into the crowd? Their foot. What are they doing?
Yeah.
You know, I just want an in-car cam to see what this guy who drove 14 people over after the car crashed is still doing. I mean, I can't believe that the car doesn't have brakes at that point. You know what I mean?
Oh, and they have great brakes. I mean, that's the
But
cars are
good.
so
That's really a good
but-
point with the nannies, because the nannies are, you know, the coolest thing with I have the RCF, and you hold down a button while it's in a sport mode, and all the nannies come on, like everything.
Yep.
It's like, here you go kill yourself, you know, and it's, but there's a reason they call that stuff expert mode.
Yeah.
But what classifies as an expert, you know, but what I think is, it's like you see people, I see a lot here in Orlando, is people give their kids fast cars for their first car. And I don't think they, really
They don't know how to handle
train
it.
them.
Yeah.
Like, I went to 2 professional driving schools. I did it. It was long after, but because I wanted to know how to drive my car to its limit, and I wanted to do it in a safe environment, and I wanted to have somebody teach me all the little tricks, how to shift the right way. And you learn so much stuff. Everybody who has an opportunity to go to a professional driving school should definitely do it.
Oh,
Or you look at guys that are doing autocross. You really want to push your car to its limit and know what it's capable of. I'd rather run over a cone than a person or something like that. But it doesn't take a lot. It really isn't a lot of money at the end of the day.
No, autocross is
I mean,
great. I mean, it's just
Eat up these schools like Bondurant or like some of the bigger schools. You know, they're out there. There's groups that you can actually go to your local track and they travel, and they'll take you out in your own car and teach you how to drive your own car, which is better in my opinion than, you know, when I went to my first driving school, they started you out in a Neon, and you worked your way up, and then the Viper was your final car. It was your solo car, and it was like, by that point, you had done so much with a car with no power that you were pushing that car with power.
Yeah.
And you were having fun with it. But you get these guys who are like, here, have a Mustang GT. Stock Mustang GT will still get you in a lot of trouble.
And that's the other part of it too. I mean, back you know, when I was growing up, I had to build my car. It took a while to get 400 horsepower back then. Now you just right off the showroom floor.
You know, the funniest thing is, for a long time, I see all these horsepower numbers. I think to myself, are they just making this stuff up? You know, it's like, or really 1,000. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But people don't realize it's not the bolt-on; it's the tune. It's
that's true.
being able to get ECU technology right now. Companies like Heltec and AEM, and you can get the last drip of power.
Yeah.
And in most cars, like the domestics or imports right now, they're granny tuned. They're tuned so that anyone can get in that car and go and have fun in it and do whatever. But it's tuned so it doesn't break and have to come in under warranty. And you get a lot of these, you know, the German cars, they'll drop a chip in it or they'll flash it. I don't know what the domestic guys do. You know, we're kind of limited in the import
Usually
world
same thing.
to like, you know, hey, guess what? We got to put another ECU in the car.
The domestic guys. I mean, if you have a Mustang, like if you have a Terminator, pop another pulley on it. I mean, bolt-ons you can do 440, 480 easy with a Terminator.
But now you're like in the racing end of it, you're seeing more domestic cars on road courses. You're seeing a lot of like older C5s. The C4s not so much, but C5s and the modern vets, guys are taking them on a track day. The Camaros and the Mustangs, not as much. I mean, because I think track days is for people with a little bit more money than most people.
Yeah.
Because it's expensive. Racing is expensive. A set of tires a day, a set of brakes a day, if you're really doing it hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, when you look at that, you see the diversity. You see more imports in drag racing, and with the domestics now, it's become a thing where they have events where it's import versus domestic nights.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to race your Camaro against this guy's Civic or whatever it is. But like when it gets to drifting, other than some like my friend Chelsea or Von Gittin and those guys, a lot of the drift cars are import cars.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting more, and you see a lot of crazy stuff like that. Ferrari powered, I forget what it was.
Oh, yeah, that was
first car. I think it was an FRS or something.
Yes.
It was a Ferrari.
Yeah, FRS.
And that's cool. But I mean, but drifting is really an import thing that the domestics are kind of getting into.
Well,
Drag racing used to
Vaughn's
be a
been doing
domestic
it
thing
Mustang.
that the imports got into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Vaughn's got, I mean, but you got, you look at Ken Block, for example. Ken was Subaru, and now he's the Mustang. He's got a bunch of different stuff going on. But that's more of an exhibition kind of thing.
I think it's because Americans finally, or the manufacturers, I should say, whoever they're owned by, generally American companies, they've caught on. It took them a while, but like look at the Focus RS, which
Yeah,
could
no,
be
good
great,
point.
but well, the dealers killed that. But
Yeah, but the thing is, they make cars like the FRS, because we were involved early on with that car, and it was like, oh, give me a car for under 30 grand that's good looking and handles and it's manual and da 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 da, and here it is. Oh, but it's not fast. Well, it wasn't in the list. You
yeah,
didn't say give me a car that runs tens, because it wouldn't be 30 grand first of all.
no,
Manufacturers, I think it's easier for a domestic manufacturer to build a car that runs a quick quarter mile than an import manufacturer, because import, the mindset is we want to make this car reliable, we want to make this car run for 250,000 miles, and and that's a different thing. But for drifting, in professional drifting, you see a lot more domestics coming into the equation. In the grassroots side of drifting, it's all swapped BMWs now, or S chassis cars, or a few things. I mean, there's a few cars out there that everybody wants, but now you can't find them due to things like you were saying earlier. Like all the AEs rusted out, or
Yep.
they're hard to find one.
I mean, back then people didn't care about them. They didn't think of them as what they are now. I mean, back in the early '90s, I don't think anyone cared what a 240 was.
Well, you look at cars that are valuable now. Anything with a manual, right? Because it's going the way of the dodo.
Sadly.
But I mean, I remember when I got a chance to drive. I think it was somebody. I'm sure will correct me in the comments, but like I think it was a '91 ZR1 LT5 manual. It was ruby red. It was that special edition color.
Yeah.
It came with a hat, and the hat said "Life begins at 150."
Yeah.
And that was a horrible car.
What?
With a really good engine. It is. It's a horrible car. C4 is pretty horrible.
Yeah.
But that engine was just wow. I mean, it was futuristic it was like a spaceship engine for GM at that point.
Oh yeah.
And that 6-speed, and I remember people going, "Who needs a 6-speed? What do you need 6 gears?" And it's funny because when you get older and you look back and you say, "I remember 3 speeds on the column. I remember carburetors. I remember, we used to joke to be a good race car, you needed a key, a coil, and a carb, and that was it." But now it's all this tech. I mean, my Lexus runs in 2 different modes when it drives, Atkinson cycle, and it changes, and like direct port injection, like not direct into the block injection.
Yeah.
And you would try to do that in the '80s, they would just melt into a pile of goo, and that would have been it. But when you're dealing with racing, there are iconic cars, and you're always gonna have, the Corvette. The new Corvette is a decent road car out of the box.
Oh.
It's not a road race car out of the box, not just a road car. But now you're dealing with. We did a story about iconic cars that the new version isn't as good as the old one, and we worked through all these cars and we basically got to the Ford GT, and we're like, this is a car that people have problems with, but it's still better than the original.
Yeah.
as far as being a car.
Yeah, as far as the car, but it's never.
So, yeah, an old GT40 is amazing, but it's a dinosaur. It's literally a dinosaur.
If you try to
the technology
drive
is
it.
you know, there's I watched a video a while back. They were working on this British Vulcan bomber, and it was the last one that was flying. And they were flying one more flight, and that was it. And the reason they were flying it is because no one was still alive that knew how to fix it. Like, that technology had been lost to history. I mean, there's books and stuff, but there's no guys working in the industry that could fix this plane. And the thing about old cars is it was so simple. I mean, but go try and find some place to rebuild your carburetor, or stuff like that. Technology has changed, but it hasn't, But now you're looking at the Ford GT, which was originally 289 and the Snake Pit stuff, and it was an amazing car. Now it's a 6-cylinder. The Raptor is a twin turbo 6-cylinder. The EcoBoost motor is taking over.
That's the top motor for
right.
the F-150s.
And I think what's going to happen is you're going to see the EcoBoost turn into this new technology, and people are going to be going, "Wow, man, let's get these Coyote motors," and they're going to become like the LS because they're great motors, and they turn out they fit. They start putting them in cars, putting them in weird cars. They're putting them in cars they don't belong in, or cars they don't, And you have, but you're getting into, because of gas prices and because of emissions and all this other stuff. I find it funny that it's like everybody just all of a sudden in the last few years discovered turbocharging.
Yeah, it's
like
what everyone's
Volkswagen's had the turbo and the 1.8T. Like, I can't tell you how long, but you have a lot of these American car companies like, oh, it's turbo. Or Honda now has a boosted factory out of the box car. A lot of their cars are boosted now, and it's like everybody turboed a Honda. Like every the minute they got it, they turboed that stock engine because Honda was banging in engines to be reliable and get good gas mileage, and they realized, hey, this car doesn't have a lot of curb weight. Let's boost it.
Yeah.
But do you think V8s are done? Do you think they're gone?
No, not. I think if anything,
you think it's going to go the way of the manual?
Hopefully not in our generation, at least in our lifetimes, because thankfully we alive now. We love that motor. At least I do, and I mean, there's a lot of people.
No, I still like V8s. I still like V8s. I like to see them evolve. I like 4-cam V8s.
I think they will. I think that's what will come of it. They'll evolve, because think of it, if a V8's going to go away, what about V10s, 12s?
They're gone already.
No.
Who makes them really? Lamborghini is like the lone holdout. Ferrari is playing with all kinds of tech. I mean, look, the 911 Porsche has to make the 911, and if they ever changed the 911 too much, there would be no Porsche. But they're trying. Everybody's trying other things. But you see all this stuff like the Fiesta and the Focus. These little front-wheel drive or boosted cars. Subarus are boosted. Like they're not going anywhere because people live where there's snow and they still want to have a sports car.
Yep.
So, but it's all boost. Like you don't see, no one's coming out and saying, "Wow, we just came out with this new V8 engine technology," or anything. It's like no one's spending the money on it because I don't think anybody sees a future.
Chevrolet, they are with their cylinder deactivation and all that.
They did that. It's like they did that. The Cadillac had that 468 thing, like a million years ago, where they would just turn off cylinders.
Yeah.
And that never really caught on.
Well, that's the thing.
I don't think the technology was there.
Yeah, exactly. Back then, I think that's kind of
engine management.
Going back to turbos and stuff. Back then, I mean, yeah, we all boosted our cars and we had problems. And it's like finally the manufacturers caught up and we're like, finally they do it. Well, they finally probably got it to work right.
Right.
I mean,
well, it's working right, and working right for 30,000 cars a year production is a big difference. I mean, Ford is probably the most financially stable car company in America right now.
Yeah. And
so they're gonna direct the show. I mean, you see a lot of things. I think the new Ford GT, in my opinion, is a crowning achievement. I mean, that car is beautiful, and its technology is up there, and it's as nuts and bolts as it can be, and still be a modern car. Like I like that the seat isn't power. Like you just slide it, and the pedals, and they slide it with a rope, basically. It's it harkens back to the old stuff. But I mean, when you're dealing with power, the current market doesn't care how you get it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Well, I don't know. There's a big thing with
F-150s that some people love the new EcoBoost, some people despise it. It's got to be a Coyote.
A friend of mine, he just bought a Raptor, the new one, the EcoBoost, and he's like, I love the truck, and I just hate the way it sounds.
that. I agree.
And I'm like, well, don't listen, because it's better. It's a better truck.
It is.
And it's better gas mileage and better performance, and it's
Well, not
better.
the Raptor, but yeah.
But I mean, for what you're getting.
Yeah.
But the whole thing at the end of the day is, do you want it? Does it matter to you? Like, sure, you want the V8 Rumble. Buy an older truck. Buy something that's maintained.
We bought a 2017 EcoBoost. It was a 2.7. We bought the 2.7 at first. That was the first one. Got rid of that and got a 5.0 because that was the smallest motor you could get with a 4-door and a 6.5 bed. So having both, the 5.0 is good. I mean, it's a great motor. I love both of them. But that EcoBoost it impressed me.
Yeah.
And anyone that got in it, my father, he's a diehard V8, and especially in a truck. Like, oh, you can't 6 cylinders in a truck. He got in it, and as long as he didn't hear it,
Yeah.
he loved it.
What's funny is I had a friend of mine who just got an EcoBoost Mustang not too long ago up north, and he said that he sees import people getting into Mustangs because it's boosted.
I think that was the smartest thing they
I
ever
think
did.
because they oh, I want a Mustang, and I can put a blow-off valve on this thing, and I can make it a tuner car, and I can tune it and turn up the boost. And do all.
A friend of mine, he put his truck in for, or you know him, his truck's in the shop. He got an EcoBoost Mustang. It's a 10-speed, which I'm not fond of that. It's constantly shifting. It doesn't feel
Confused.
Yeah, it is. The car feels confused, but that EcoBoost, it's a fun car. So now, no offense to people who have 6-cylinder Mustangs, but there was like
Yeah, but okay. But the 6-cylinder Mustang is the car basically designed for the rental car world.
yeah.
It's because if you either want the EcoBoost or you want the V8. The 6-cylinder is like the Chrysler Sebring of Mustangs. It's we built them so that people can have them at the airport.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of thing. And you see people, they're like, oh, you got a Mustang? Yeah, what's in it? 6.
Yeah.
It's like they get bummed. Like, well, why'd you buy it?
Well, I had my first car was a '93 Camaro, and it was a 6-cylinder, and I was happy I had a Camaro. But anytime the Z28 went by, I was kind of just like, but it's
One friend said, every time you roll up to a traffic light in my RCF and there's an RC350 next to me, the car goes. I'm like, come on! It's a big price difference.
I have that same feeling in my car, my Grand Sport. From the front or the back, you're like, oh man, that could be a Z06 or a ZR1. And then you see the side.
So you've had a couple of Corvettes.
4. This is my 4th.
Okay, so trifectas from hell, but yeah. So
and I'm not that old.
So I remember, and I don't know if you remember this, but I remember when they said, oh, when you get rid of the pop-up headlights in the Corvette's done.
Yep.
Like when the C5 came out, the C5 had pop-ups.
This is the C6.
C6.
It was 05.
Oh, it's done. It's done. If you put pop-ups in a 911, okay, I can understand that. But like, technology is, I love pop-ups, but there's a reason that nobody has pop-ups anymore because it's more to fix on the car. And from what I've heard, you have to crash pop-tested cars, pop-up headlight cars twice.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Because you see how they impacted the headlights up and them down.
Well, that's a very good point too. Is like my '92, they had to.
It's a lot cheaper. Plastic headlights are a lot cheaper.
In the C4s, they had to flip like that,
which was the dumbest thing in the world. They would always break.
Oh my god!
I was always waiting for them to just flip out of the car.
Was supposedly the point I heard at one point was so in case they ever got iced, stuck, that they could break through it with that much momentum. That wasn't true because mine got stuck.
They said the same thing about the NSX headlights, that they can lift 50 pounds, right? And I'm thinking to myself, who in their right mind bought an aluminum $70,000, $80,000 Japanese supercar and parked it out in the sleet and freezing rain? Who does? I mean, I'm sure it could happen, but come on. That's like building your Lamborghini Aventador to fit snow tires.
Uh-huh.
You just
don't do it. Yeah.
So do you think, we're back into this bullshit story, in my opinion, of mid-engine vets. Which welcome to the, we've been doing this mid-engine thing for a while. Welcome to the party. But I've heard that since I was a teenager.
Yeah, I still don't think people are gonna.
I remember we're going to put a wankle in it, and that didn't work out real well for the wankle or the Corvette.
Made it a wagon.
Made it a wagon.
They did the four-door vet, which you got Langenfelter who actually did the wagon conversion for the
Yeah.
C7s, but that was.
But that's aesthetic.
Yeah, that was a wagon back then, concept.
But there's been a million concept Corvettes.
Yeah.
They were gonna the Grand Sport, the original Grand Sports were amazing. They were full-blown race cars. They were trying to be the Cobra because the Cobra was killing them on racetracks. But it's like, I think if they build a mid-engine vet, you're gonna lose the Corvette purist.
Some people will complain, but it'll be the same thing as the headlights. They're gonna go, "Oh my God." Like you say, it's gone, but then they're going to see it works. They're going to get it, and they're going to go, wow, it still is a Corvette. Corvette's almost its own part from GM. They just haven't fallen under GM.
It's like Cadillac. They want. It's like their own thing. It is a GM, but it's really not.
Yeah, they do it, and it trickles down into like the Camaro or something. GM's got an advantage there.
Or the Blazer, which is the Camaro or whatever.
Yeah, so I think people will be upset at first, but when they see the performance and they see what it's capable of.
Yeah, but that's the gray area for me. Like, you just don't drop and decide you're going to make a mid-engine car, because a mid-engine car, power is one thing, but the reason you make a mid-engine car is for balance. You make the car handle better and be more balanced. And the Corvette's been a nose-heavy tank forever.
Well, they since they've done the transaxles, they've had like pretty much perfect weight balance.
But you're still talking. All right, so I remember when the C5 Vet came out, and I had a 944 turbo Porsche at the time, and I went to near the Chevy dealer near my house, and I went to see it, and this guy was over there talking about it. They had like this rotisserie thing at this big Chevy dealer, and he's talking about it. He's like, this new technology, transaxles. And I'm standing next to my 1986 Porsche 4-cylinder turbo that's had a transaxle since the 70s. Like, wow, welcome to the party, guy. It's like, that's the thing. It takes domestic car companies forever to catch up with technology that's been around forever.
I don't understand it. Maybe I guess there's marketing people that know.
Marketing control. Like, the reason the new GTR is auto is marketing. You can sell an auto to anyone. You can't sell a stick to everyone.
Sad but true.
And that's the problem. And we did a video about it. Embrace the heart. It's gone. Manuals are gone. Embrace the heart. Put both hands on the steering wheel. And get over it. And if the Corvette turns out to be a mid-engine, I want to see it be an impressive car. I don't want to see, I put this mid-engine in there, and guess what? No, we don't know what to do with the front of the car, and it's all light. It's killing people.
Yeah, GM's already done that once.
Because you look at the GT40, or the GT40, the new Ford GT, it's a mid-engine car. It's always been a mid-engine car. Well, mid-rear car, but I don't know. I've heard it for so long. I hear so much stuff from GM. Meanwhile, they're just banging out the SUVs, and it's like, I sit there. Well, everybody's banging out SUVs, but I just sit there and, all right, are we really gonna build it? Is it actually gonna happen?
Something's been spotted finally.
But they've had road-going versions in the past.
That's true.
You can build a test mule.
That's true. Yeah.
You want to see cars go from test mule to production. McLaren, you see it on the street in camo tomorrow, and 3 weeks from now, it's on the showroom floor.
Yeah.
So I remember reading something a while back about the Viper and how the Viper went from prototype to production with very little change.
Yeah.
And it was a quick thing, and that's what started that trend of, we're going to build it, we're going to design it, we're going to build a test car, we're going to get it to production. So boom, boom, boom. And Dodge has done a good job of that over the years. I kind of feel bad for the new Viper, because I know 2 or 3 people that have bought them, and they love them.
It's a spectacular.
And I had an 03, and it was a death trap. It was a death trap. And the problem is, they've built such sloppy cars for so long that when they finally built a good one, people had lost interest. And I think that's what happened. And I think they're great now. They're really a great. Yeah. They're a supercar. They're literally a supercar. But to hear that come out of my mouth is impressive. But Dodge made a really good.
Well, the other side of that too is now finally you have car people building them, not some bean counter.
And it's true, but I mean, it's like the question I get asked a lot is, oh, what's super? The super. I'm like, Toyota builds cars that make money.
Yeah.
They're not looking. They lost their shirt on the old Supra. They haven't forgotten. You built a junk bond era car. None of those cars sold back then. They're iconic now because they didn't sell back then. That's what kept production numbers down in the first place. And even my NSX, the Supra, all those cars, you could give those things away. They were big money back then. $50,000. There were Supras 5 years later, still in the showroom floor.
My dad was a wholesaler, so I was always at dealerships, and the first guy he wholesaled with, he loved the NSX. That was what he wanted. And I remember going to the Acura dealer multiple times, and it was the same NSX.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said, yeah, I mean, it's nice, it's a great car, but it just no one.
But that's why they
liked it yet.
But that's why people freak when I tell them they made 8,777 NSXs total production for the U.S. From 91 to 05. That was it. I think last year they built 50 cars. Yeah. They built less cars in the last year than they built the special editions Zanardi's. So, I mean, that's what happens. People weren't buying them.
Well, that's
there
the
were
same
a lot of
story.
other choices.
It was the Superbird? It's
like the NASCAR car, the big wing.
Yeah, the big wing and
Daytona
the
Superbird.
Roadrunner.
Well, whichever.
Yeah, whichever. Yeah,
the big wing car.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same thing back then. Apparently, they didn't sell for anything, and then
people thought they were ugly.
Yeah.
I remember people saying, "Oh, this car is the ugliest thing Dodge ever made." I think it's amazing looking.
I like
it. Was a bullet. It looked like a bullet. It looked like an airplane that they took the wings off it. Well, some of the wings.
Well, yeah, except for the giant thing.
But what do you think with imports domestic? Do you think is the next step? I mean, from the domestic end.
Domestics. Well, I think the Mustang has kind of sealed its way, especially with the EcoBoost. If the Mustang ever went away, then Ford's gone.
How long do you think is going to be for the death of the V8? I mean, I think there'll be in things like trucks and stuff where they'll go more diesels, because even Nissan has a diesel now.
Yeah, diesel is definitely the future. The V8
for towing and stuff.
I feel that the V8 still has a following.
I just don't know if we need it anymore. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like them. I like V8s, and there's things about V8s that are great, but do we really need it when we can get a 6-cylinder and twin turbo it, or you could do a 4-cylinder in some cases and turbo it?
It just depends.
And then you only have the power when you really need it. Meanwhile, you're getting better fuel economy.
Well, honestly, fuel economy.
Yeah, I mean, you can squeeze fuel economy out of V8s. There's ways to do it. But
the Corvette, I get great gas mileage in that.
What does that thing get?
I haven't taken that one on highway, but my old one I had a C5 Z06, and that one going to North Carolina, I got 29 miles per gallon.
Yeah, that's
so
better gas mileage than Lexus does.
I mean, that was highway. I mean, average city 18, 19.
Yeah, that's about what the Lexus gets.
I mean, that's not bad.
It's a lot more displacement.
Yeah,
but it's probably how much does the car weigh?
The C5Z was like 3,100.
Yeah, someone with 1,000 pounds heavier.
Yeah, that one is 3,300, I believe.
And another car.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is, there's a reason Corvettes were fiberglass, because they were just easier to make, and you could just slap. The whole idea, I think, initially was that we're just going to keep changing the bodies, and the bottom will be the same. Yeah. We'll just change the fashion.
I mean, I think the shapes that they can make with it. It's basically a surfboard.
Yeah, and but underneath it's the same underpinnings.
A C5 and C6 are very.
I'm really
close.
kind of surprised that a lot of companies are doing composite bodies now, but I was surprised back then more people didn't do it. Didn't make fiberglass cars, or because now everything's basically plastic.
I mean, it's kind of like what you always say, hindsight's 20/20. Now we look back and we go, oh, see, now this makes sense. Why weren't we always doing that? But back then, they're kind of looking at it and going, maybe they didn't know what else to do.
Yeah,
and thought, that's like boosting. It's crazy.
That Corvette's fiberglass. Yeah, but like half the body panels on cars right now are all plastic. It's all composite.
Mm-hmm.
It costs. You're buying oil to make the panels now.
Yeah.
I mean, you're producing plastic. I don't know. I mean, I hope the Corvette. I want it to be impressive. I want it to do something, but I think they're getting murdered by everybody else right now.
That car's The ZR, well, that's actually in the
What are
article
the
about
production?
the
Are they
C8.
selling?
The ZR1s, I mean, they're just hitting,
The
so
ZR1.
yeah.
The ZR ones are kind of.
But it's
up
funny,
there.
if you read the performance data, apparently the C7, Z06, and the ZR1, there's a significant amount of power difference, but the ZR1 is actually only a smidge faster, and that's why everyone's saying they've reached as much as they can do in the front, rear.
Well,
front
also, poor
engine.
guys knew a long time ago that it's not just power.
Yeah,
It's power to weight. There's a reason that,
I think GM knew that, or Corvette knew that, but they still had to remember we're American. We have to do this
Sure.
to keep it, going. But I think they knew that. It's just they got to remember who their buyers are.
Yeah, I mean, but they're not going to build it if it doesn't sell, and it's obviously selling. I mean, I see a lot of the new Corvettes running around, and it's there. I mean, I finally like the way they look.
The younger generation's taking them now too. It's not just.
But it's weird because I think I like the way the new Corvette looks because it doesn't look like a domestic car. It
No,
looks
it
like
doesn't.
it's a European designed car
Yes.
until you look at the inside.
Well, those have come a long way too.
Yeah, it's gotten better, but it's like when you look at the Corvette, and if you knew nothing about cars, and it didn't say Chevy, it didn't say Corvette on it, you could think, wow, that's some sort of European
Oh
supercar.
God, yes. When you see it come up in your mirror, like I saw it, there's a C06 the other day in my mirror. I was like, that looks menacing.
Yeah.
And it similar, the aggressive lines that
Yeah,
you see on a
and it's like,
Lambo.
I love, I don't think the Mustang has found that yet, but Dodge, their cars just look evil. They look like they're going to eat you. Like,
Yeah.
Even like the Challenger and all these, I don't care what it's powering it. I'm saying the look of the car is.
Dodge has come a long way too.
But Chevy has just seemed, other than the Corvette, they just seem like they can't get the look right on the Camaro. Like,
Yeah.
it looks okay in the front, and the back looks like horrible. And then it looks okay like this, and then it looks like. But the thing is, all these car companies, and give Corvette credit, they're not that way. But they're just trying to replicate the '60s cars that their grandfathers had.
Yeah.
They're like they look like the old. You look at that, you look like an old Cuda. It looks like an old Mustang. There's a reason called the Heritage Generation Mustang. It's you're not coming up with something new. You're coming up with something old.
Yeah. Yeah. Essentially.
You're putting plastic headlights on a '67 Mustang and making it modern and run dependably and But that's the thing. I guess we'll see what happens. But I mean, you're always going to have that push pull with important domestic guys, and some of our arguments is the best part of it.
Yeah. Oh.
So
Having both. I mean, I loved my Skyline. I did, but owning that car, I didn't have the best experience.
because you didn't buy it for me.
Well, there's
You didn't buy it for me. But that's okay.
yeah, the people I bought it from are not in good shape anymore.
Yeah, the situation is that it's the reason I got out. I mean, it's one of the reasons I got out. I just saw how bad it was getting, and I made some amazing friends over the years.
Yeah.
There's people I would have never met,
Mm-hmm.
and friends all over the country and all over the world that, we bonded over that.
Yep.
And the thing is, it's just
That was the best part about owning that car.
everybody is either a hater or a shit talker, or there's the group of people that just, you know what? I don't care what anybody says. I bought it. I wanted it. I got it. Gray market,
Yeah. Yeah. You got it.
federalized, whatever. And I love driving my car.
Yeah.
And there's tons of people that are still out there doing it every day, driving their car. But it's just it's hard to make money in it. It was hard to make money initially, and it became. One of my friends who's been doing this. Speaking of imports, one of my friends who's been doing this for a long, long time said to me, as soon as the R32 becomes federalized, the business is done. And I was like, why? He goes, because it's just going to be anyone can get one. And he was really right, because as soon as it happened, as soon as R32 started hitting the shores, they were selling for 25 to 27,000, and anyone can have them. They're freaking everywhere now. You go to a car show, there's 10 32s. I love the cars. I think they're a good deal for that money.
Yeah, they.
But
Yeah.
but as soon as somebody has the same car as you want another car. You want to get something else, and that's what it is. I wish everybody the best. Trying to, the hardest thing in the world, and the best piece of advice I can give to people that are getting into the business now is, don't do what you love as a business.
I 100% agree with that.
If you love cars, do something else. Make your money and own the car you want. Doing it for a business, because I spent years building everyone else's dream. And then when I decided I was going to build my NSX, they were like, "You're going to put a big wing on it? You're going to put blue wheels on it? You're going to do this?" I'm like, yeah, F off.
I thought they were purple.
There you go. Here we go. But that's the whole thing. It's like everybody's like this. And you know what? It's never been in a show it hasn't won a trophy in.
Yeah.
So, but I built it for me, and it was a great experience to build my car my way. And that's the way it is. If you have a car, like what you have, and you can sit there and argue with me and defend it, then I respect your love of your car, and I respect your car. You don't have to agree with everybody.
Well, that's true. And you know, it's funny you mentioned going to a show now. Back when that car was new, just like we were talking about earlier, that wouldn't have happened. People would have, like when we went to Festival of Speed with the Skylines and the NSX, back, if that car show would have been going on back, 20 years ago, they would have laughed at us. They said, "You're not bringing that in here. You get out of here." But now we're sitting there with classics, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, all that stuff, and actually winning awards now.
I talk to so many people that walk up and go, "What is that?" Like, because it's the badge that's part of it, but it's like, is that a Ferrari, a Lamborghini? I'm like, no, it doesn't break. You know, but people come up and they want to know, and then they're like, "It's beautiful." Well, yeah, Italians designed the way it looks, but Japanese made it run dependably.
Yeah.
You know, so but cars become icons. The Corvette's an icon. NSX, all these cars are iconic. But I get disappointed by the youth these days walking up and not knowing what that car is. And they're at a show.
Yeah.
And you have Google. and you live on your phone. Do some research, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, the whole thing is, it's like, figure out what you want. Figure out what you love. Go up to somebody at a car show and look at their car, ask them some questions about their car, and say, you know, could you give me a ride? Because most people, we would do it.
I did it all the time.
And it's like, hey, you want to go out? You want to go out and ride and see what it's like? And it's like, they may never buy one. Yeah. They may never buy one. And at this point, I don't care if they buy one because I'm not trying to make a living at it, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like, you don't have to sell the car. You're not forced into that. And you can enjoy it more, I think. Like go on their cruises and stuff. Every time we go on to do a cruise, it gets bigger, and bigger, and bigger. And it's like, oh my God, the roads were great, and all these crazy cars were out there, and you know, it's a good time.
It's the fun part of it.
But so I guess in closing, import domestic, buy what you want. I'm going to get this guy to take me for a ride in his Corvette before he leaves, and we'll see you guys next week.
When he has a vet.
That again.